Welcome to this Cambridge Marketing College webinar. This is Emerging AI Trends, and we're going to cover a host of things that are the most hot topics, the emerging opportunities, and I guess as well some of the challenges that we're all facing within business using the concept of AI, artificial intelligence. We're not quite there with AGI, general artificial intelligence, where we're looking at the kind of almost the human or intuitive version of AI that's being promised. This is something that we are currently focused on very much the what's here today, and not necessarily looking deeply into the future, but saying what tools, what opportunities, what platforms do we have right here, right now. And so we're going to be focusing in on the stuff that's emerging and that is available to all of us. Now, one of the things that I've been noticing actually as I've been doing my research and keeping up to date as far as anybody can really with this very, very rapidly escalating topic is that I've seen a little bit of an acronym really emerge, and this is the acronym EPIC. And I would say that AI is epic in marketing and in business. But what do I actually mean by that? Well, I would say that if you think about the four letters EPIC, they do really give you a little nod and a clue as to where probably within business and from a commercial or marketing perspective, you're going to see most value. And so EPIC to me stands for efficiency, improved efficiencies, personalization, so personalizing the customer experience or journey, improvement, just continuous improvement in everything that we do, and of course C for creativity. And we all know that it's great for helping us craft the right words, the right images, the right sound, and of course the right video. What I would say, though, is that AI currently, as it stands, whether or not you're going down the route of Copilot because you're embedded into a Microsoft environment at work, or whether you're using ChatGPT to have a little conversation on your smartphone, whichever way that you are looking at this, whichever way you cut this, is that it is very much like, and I often use this phrase, an over-caffeinated intern. So it's dead excitable. It's really, really keen to help you. It's got so much enthusiasm and energy. But actually, until you kind of start controlling it and start to really brief it properly, it's absolutely clueless, as anybody would be starting a new business or a new role and really not having a clue where they've landed and what's actually going on. That is very much how AI is. But it is, once you start to brief it, and we'll talk a little bit about prompt engineering, which is this emerging phrase to take control over artificial intelligence, it does very quickly become your team of, as I would call them, specialist assistants. Now, what I mean by that is that one AI might be very, very good at doing one thing. So, for example, helping you with your content and copywriting, but another AI could be very strong at something else. So that might be planning, helping you to create a campaign structure, for example. So each of the AI platforms has almost a specialist skill that you can then kind of work with. So I see this not as being a one size fits all, not saying that, Copilot is better than or less good than Grok, better than ChatGPT, etc., but just saying each platform has a skill set and almost an expertise, much as humans do. So think about AI as being a team of special assistants, each one doing something special for you. And they can do this stuff for you from initial research to interpreting the results of the work that you're doing. So literally everything that comes into your work can be impacted and probably should be enhanced by the use of AI. But that doesn't necessarily mean that AI is coming for your job. I don't believe it is actually coming from your job. I believe it actually is your job. So here we go. All right, he's already said the first controversial thing. I don't think it's coming for your job. I think it is your job. It is something that is going to be really enhancing the work that you do. It's going to be taking away some of the things that are time consuming, but where you don't add too much value. It's going to be, doing far more efficiently some of the what we might term low hanging fruit in your day-to-day work, where actually it's far more effective. You're doing the important stuff and leaving AI to do the more processing or admin stuff. Now, lots of people think that their job security and even that they could be displaced by AI and it really is coming for them. I don't believe that's true, but your job is changing. It already has changed, even if you're not aware of it. There are obviously ethical and legal concerns that we're going to be using AI for good rather than for bad. Obviously, there is always, as with any of these things, a spectrum, and let's hope that we can start by our good intentions to do things in the right way so that that gets biased in the right direction. There's obviously implementation challenges. I mean, you don't necessarily know every single, intricate detail about the algorithms or the buttons to press or how to best use these things. Nobody does. There is no playbook. That's both exciting and challenging in the same breath. The speed of change as well is just, for some people, just too great. It's almost like too tough to handle. You don't, if you're not really into change and you like kind of the status quo and you like things being predictable on a day-to-day basis, this is a very bumpy ride. But if you embrace change and you get excited and energized by that, well, there's no better wave to ride. So again, it's all on a spectrum. We're definitely seeing and probably will continue to see data bias and privacy challenges and issues. Anything that involves human interaction, which of course AI does, is inherently biased. It just is. I mean, that is how we're programmed, it's how we're made, it's how us as marketers typically, create personas because those personas are biased, and that's then what we do. We personalize our marketing towards some of those differences or nuances that a particular persona or target customer has, and that's what makes our marketing effective. So bias isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just something to be aware of, as are privacy issues. Is anything 100% private? Probably not. But again, just getting the right level of consideration to the kind of things that we're putting into the AI and the kind of way that we're using the outputs from it. And of course, a financial impact. Yes, you can get the free versions of all of the platforms, and they'll give you a little bunch of free credits so you can go away and play with them. But at the same time, there is a financial impact if you want to go for the premium version. So we do need to be quite selective, I guess, in terms of building this team of AI assistants around us and making smart choices, not just jumping in because the media says, oh, you've got to be using DeepSeek, or, oh, yes, it's ChatGPT, but actually taking our own conscious decisions as to which ones are going to be the best for us. And of course, on the flip side of those challenges and those fears are the big commercial opportunities. I've already hinted at those, but I want to go a little bit more deep into these now because for a lot of us, we're missing a trick when we don't consider the full breadth of commercial opportunities that are available. So, for research, for example, at the start of a campaign or a project year or a particular initiative that you're doing, it is great for trend analysis, for competitor benchmarking, for finding client or customer insights, for prioritizing which sector to go after, or which country, or which region, or which demographic or psychographic. All of these things can be really enhanced, literally at the speed of light, if you like, so much quicker than commissioning a deep research report or commissioning somebody to do some research for you. Because these are large language models that have been, learning a lot of information, literally almost at a quantum level, they can create the outputs, the knowledge and the interpretations that you need to set yourself in the right direction, to set sail in the right kind of way in anything that you're doing. So for research, that is incredibly powerful. Evidence-based starting of campaigns and projects, really crucial that you start to think about AI and how it can enhance that. For sales and marketing, well, I think for most of us, this is where we've jumped in probably initially. So for copywriting, for design, for scheduling, maybe even now lead generation and process automation. We'll come on to some of these points because they are really hot topics emerging right now. And as every day goes by, each of these AI tools becomes more and more capable, more and more advanced, and giving us more and more opportunity. But this is a nice little checklist, really, of some of the things that if you're not doing them, they are well worth exploring and experimenting with right now. And customer service as well. We're seeing a lot of organizations now beginning to use things like chatbots and the like for really optimizing the customer journey, analytics and performance insights to ensure that we're actually talking the right things that are meaningful to our customers and actually going back to them in a really considered way, that we're addressing their needs and pain points and doing the right thing, not just telling our own stories, but really entering into proper dialogue with customers as we provide ongoing service to them. So these are just some really of the commercial opportunities that are available to us. But we do need to then start to think about, well, okay, how do we embrace all this stuff? Because it's all very well with us having a lovely checklist of all the opportunities, but how can we actually bring an AI in as a proper assistant? How can we start to prompt it and have a real conversation as though it is this overcaffeinated intern or it is this new member of staff, and really bring them into the team, into the fold, so they can start contributing properly? Well, the acronym I like to use here is prompts. So PROMPTS. And I always start with the S, actually, because that's the really profound one that a lot of people forget, actually, is that you could start with the AI. Actually, ask the AI by just literally putting into the prompt bar, how can I brief you best? What would you like to know? And see what the AI comes back with. Most people start from their own perspective, but if it was a new member of staff, and of course we're treating AI as such, you would probably say, so what do you know? What can I tell you? What would you like to know? What would you like to understand? We'd probably start there rather than just a monologue of this is what you need to understand. Understanding where they're coming from, what previous knowledge they have, what kind of experience and skills they have would be so much more useful, wouldn't it? As a human, will treat your AI similarly, and you'll get a really interesting insight about how can you brief them best. And then you can begin the acronym proper. So P is for personas. If you let your AI know the audience for the output, they will then start to get their heads around, oh, okay, so we're writing for the management team. So what I need to do is make sure the output here that I give you, human, is kind of focused on finance as well as marketing, as well as production, as well as sales. Okay, I can give you a balanced output. And once you kind of tell them who the audience is, the AI is going to then really bias it in that direction. So that's important. Otherwise, you get this generic kind of vanilla output that you're going to have to continually rework. The R in prompts is for research. So sources of information, types of research, and any exclusions. Brief it properly. Tell it the kind of information and types of research that you're willing to have it draw from. So if you want it to avoid Wikipedia and tabloid media, for example, and you want it to only go for big academic resources or universities or the likes of Forrester or Harvard Business Review or places like that, then tell it, because if you don't tell it, it won't know. It can't yet read your mind, so you have to put that into the prompt. So tell it the kinds of research that you will accept. The O in prompts is for output. So the ultimate smart goal for the output. So you've already told it who the audience is, but what's the ultimate smart goal for the output? So if it is that you're using AI to create a monthly report for your management team, what is the ultimate smart goal? And it could be that it is to support these business objectives next month with the recommendations that come out of the report. Tell it that that's what you need. Tell it that that's why you need it. And that's where it'll be biased. That's where the nuance of the output will become so much more valuable to you, rather than just, here are the numbers, here's a pretty graph, and you're on your way. actually get it to do some really deep work for you. So the ultimate SMART goal for the output then starts to tune the output in the direction of the audience, which will get you a better outcome in that meeting. M is for models. So if you've got any examples of similar outputs, so maybe you did this last month and you'd like it to improve this month with this monthly report, give it last month's report and say, look, this is what you created for me before, or here's a similar background kind of model that we've used, or here's some research or some data that you might find useful. Give it a little bit of a helping hand. Again, if this was a member of staff, this is what you do. You'd give them a bit of support and a bit of background. So any model of existing similar outputs will be very useful to your AI. The second P is for preferences. So get into a conversation. Never accept the first version. Ask it to develop a better or ultimately the smartest or the best version of the output. I always find probably the second or third version is generally the one that I'll run with. I never accept the first version. It likes to be challenged. Again, a new member of staff would be probably accepting that they won't get it right first time. Well, that's the same with your new AI assistant. So it will expect that you'll challenge it. So that can get really interesting when you start to develop that conversation. And the T in prompts is for tone of voice. So style, tone of voice, any brand guidelines, maybe some AI guidelines would be useful so that it knows it can keep it on brand and in the style that would suit you with the output. And of course, if there is a certain style that you want the AI to be, tell it. If you want it to be, writing as a senior executive or, producing an output that is a little more academic or an output that is kind of very much peer reviewed. I mean, all of these phrases could be dropped into the prompt. So that is really prompting like a professional, not just saying, here's some data, give me a report. I mean, can you really expect it to do, what you want it to do by such a lightweight prompt? No, we've got to get deeper. The prompting and the effort you put in up front will give a much deeper, much more nuanced, much stronger response and output at the far side. So I would strongly encourage you to prompt like a real conversation with a new member of staff. And if you want to go a little bit further, I saw on LinkedIn a while back some really interesting additional little things that you can ask it to do. And this came thanks to a guy called Connor Grennan at Connor Grennan gets the credit for this one, which is some advanced prompt engineering tips. You can ask it to debate the answer it just gave you. So you can get it to split itself, if you like, and basically come back with okay, well, what are the challenges that if I took this management report into the meeting and actually presented it, what are the things that I'm most likely to be challenged on? Where would the blockages be from what you know about our business? And ask it to debate those things and maybe give you some challenging questions back so you can practice the real world scenario that you're just about to put yourself in. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Particularly when it comes to things like self-testing. And if you're doing any studies or you're actually on a course or an apprenticeship, interesting one. Get it to test out. Did you really understand that concept or that particular theory? Now it can actually become your study buddy as well. So asking it to debate things is a really interesting angle that will probably throw up some really interesting challenges to your thinking. You can get it to go to bionic stage where you can ask the AI to become smarter and give you a better answer and just keep on going. Keep asking why, how, when, what, and, can we just get better and better until we get to the ultimate answer? That's an interesting one. You can really push it. It will not give up. It is absolutely relentless if you continue to push it. And it will get to a point where you're just not really seeing that it's getting any better. And of course, at that point, you think, okay, that's about as good as we can get together. And then maybe next time that becomes your baseline, and then you can build from there. You can also get it to conjure. In other words, you can get it to act as though it is Einstein, Sir Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, whoever it is. Maybe it's you. Maybe actually you put in your profile and you give it all of your preferences and how you do business, and you get it to conjure you, get it to act and behave as though it's you. Have a little play with that one. That's interesting. And of course, if you're looking at some quite sensitive information that could be challenged, or that is some evidence that is backing up maybe a pitch for some budget or a big decision that you have to make strategically within your business, you can get it to time travel. This is an absolutely fascinating use of AI because you can give it the kind of almost permission to get out its AI crystal ball and look back from the future and say what could have been improved with that campaign, with that report, with those set of recommendations. Now, that's an interesting one. When you stop and think about it, of course, it's not real, but what it's doing, it is getting super strategic. It's almost getting forensic in the way that it's looking at the data that it is presented with. And then it's, of course, going out into the big wide world and it's starting to look at maybe similar scenarios and examples of where other organizations or other people have done something similar and what happened to them. Okay, well, I can see that now. Okay, so now I can understand that if we play back and reverse engineer from these ideas that we've created together, us AI and us human, this is the likely thing that will have happened. And then, okay, so if we were to improve these things, we're probably going to get a better result. So time travel it's a really kind of interesting concept anyway, isn't it? But to use your AI to do that can be really, really quite profound. And very few people are actually using it in this way yet. So already, just by considering that, you've moved the game forward. So let's talk about some of the current trending, because this is all about, who are the emerging winners and losers. Well, not losers so much, but who are the ones who are kind of leading the race in particular areas at the moment. Now, if you are tied to a particular platform because that's what your business tells you you have to be doing, then I get it, I understand it, but I just need to share with you who, from my perspective, seem to be the ones who are taking a little bit of a lead strategically in this race to AGI, this general intelligence that we're all looking for in the future. So for research, it is Perplexity, who have coined the phrase deep research. Others have used that phrase as well more recently. But if it's anything from trending hashtags to thought leadership, Perplexity is a really great tool that will enable you to go deep into finding out the evidence that you need to back up what you're doing. Yes, others can do it. Yes, you can get that through Copilot and ChatGPT, but Perplexity right now seems to be the one that is leading the race. I use it as well for fact checking. So if I create some content, maybe an article with another AI, I'll use Perplexity to fact check it. So it'll go out as almost an independent arbitrator, I think that's the word, to actually go out and actually double check on the things that I've claimed or the things that I'm saying. And it works then in a nice kind of confidence builder because it's very, very good at that. And it's also very good at summarizing data, regulations, and reports. So if you want to make sure your stuff is squeaky clean and in line with regulations and stuff, then that's a really, really good way of using Perplexity. Is it good for creating imagery and videos? It can do that, but no. This is the specialist research AI in my book. When it comes to what we might call campaign ideation, in other words, using AI to invite along to a meeting to just give you some ideas that are out of the box, that might be able to help you to reverse engineer from maybe the perfect outcome that you're looking for from a particular campaign or from maybe some project work that you're doing, then maybe Copilot, which a number of you obviously are going to be tied into because it's part of the Microsoft suite of products, and your IT friends may well have locked you into Copilot, and I'm hearing more and more that people are being locked into it. So maybe think about inviting Copilot along to your meetings, be it through Teams or and actually face-to-face meetings, and see what it comes up with. Get it involved in those discussions. So for campaign ideation, coming up with new, fresh thinking, that can actually be a very powerful and productive way of working. If you're writing with AI, all of the basically pretty much all of the AI platforms that you're most likely to encounter, things like ChatGPT et al., will all be great for producing the early drafts of your content. I mean, they are, mind-blowingly good, aren't they, in terms of doing that? But if you want to improve your content, then Hemingway app is a very popular and emerging one that is here to create compelling copy faster and more consistently. It can help with your grammar. It can help make your writing concise and correct. And for social posts where you're looking to break down maybe a longer article, thought leadership piece, or a blog into bite-sized social posts, it can be very effective at doing that as well. So for kind of the sense check on how grammatically correct and how on brand your content is, I would say probably Hemingway app is a good one to go for. Yes, the others can do this stuff, but Hemingway is your specialist there for that particular task. Currently, through creating imagery, I would say that a really, really good one is currently probably a surprise one here is Elon Musk's X, formerly Twitter, and the AI there, which is Grok, which you'll find in your X, formerly Twitter account. It's a very, very good one for creating photorealistic imagery. That doesn't mean you're going to put your photographer out of work, or if you are a photographer and you're the one who creates the images, doesn't mean you're out of work. But if you just need that thumbnail, photorealistic thumbnail for a social post or your YouTube channel, then it can be a very, very useful tool to getting something quick and fast. And I find myself using that one quite a lot, alongside actually ChatGPT, which I would say is now catching up with the latest iteration of its image creation. That one is well worth trying as well. When it comes to creating videos, now, everybody has a different view when it comes to videos. If you are playing with video in AI, you'll probably have your own preferred version that you're currently playing with. One that might surprise you, possibly, through the amount of different features that it has for image and video editing is Runway ML. That would be a go-to. I would suggest that you go and have a little play with, so app.runwayml.com. That one has a load of different features that enable you to get super creative with your imagery and particularly with video. Although now Sora, part of the OpenAI ChatGPT family, is available to all of us, even on free accounts. Sora is, I would say, probably going to overtake, in my book, Runway ML very, very quickly, if it hasn't already, when I go and test it again over the next few days. But for now, go and have a look at some of the features there. And if video is something that you've dabbled with a little bit, but you're finding it's not quite hitting the mark, Runway ML with some of the editing features may well do that for you. So that could be quite an interesting one. When it comes to background sound, and you can read into that music as well, I would certainly be looking at suno.com, exploring, as it says, new styles of music with Suno version 4, which is its latest version. So every genre of music, even ones that you can sort of create and dream up yourself, combining, different genres to create a new genre. You can create soundtracks, you can create instrumentals, or you can even, if you're an aspiring DJ, create your new upcoming album, if you like. If you haven't spent many an evening going deep into music creation and you like a bit of music, then Suno is one of those little AI bunny holes that you're going to find yourself going down and finding it very difficult to put down. Yes, okay, I let you into it. It's a little secret of mine that, yes, it is a really good little fun one to play with. But if you do need some background sound or music for a video or a social post or something like that, then Suno is a very, very good player in that particular space. And when it comes to voice, this is one that I'm seeing an increasing number of people are now using, which is a really interesting one that has a number of different, I would guess you could say, benefits in terms of coming up with critiquing voice, if you like, within your AI suite of assistants. And this is Notebook LM, which is part of Google's family of AI sort of tools, if you like. It is integrated very heavily with Google Gemini, which is Google's version of a more generic general AI. And it basically does a number of things. And because it's integrated with Google Gemini, it gives you an opportunity to do a little kind of sense check from a search engine perspective, maybe on your website or maybe on a particular blog or thought leadership piece that you're looking to put out there. If you put that into either as a link or as an upload into notebooklm.google.com, it will create a little podcast of two avatars talking about what it is you just put in. So the URL of your website, the thought leadership piece, or a blog article, and it will go deep in this podcast, which is 10 to 15 minutes or so of these two AIs talking and discussing the topic that you've just put in there. A very, very interesting way of finding out whether or not Google, because it's Gemini powered, Google actually understands and can relate to and is actually on kind of on brand, if you like, or getting the essence of what you're trying to produce. So it's a very creative way of just checking that Google understands what you're trying to say, because, of course, we all, from an SEO perspective, we want to know that this makes sense to Google as well as to our target audience so we can actually be found. So this is a kind of an alternative way of doing a bit of SEO whilst having a bit of fun with the concept of voice within AI. So have a little play with notebooklm.google.com, see what you think there. It's another way of getting some little bit more creative through AI ideation. Now, I did mention right at the start as well, one of the emerging themes here is efficiency. That was one that came up in our EPIC acronym. And you are going to be able to, and you already can actually, if you are willing to spend a little bit of time and energy going deep into this, you can already automate admin heavy tasks. You can do multivariate testing, not just split or A/B testing on your campaigns. You can evaluate your reports, not just provide insights, but get your AI to actually evaluate what your insights are showing and saying. And you can also then, as a result of that, say, hey, AI, whichever one you're talking to, can you prioritize for me, please, the top 3 things to do next month to achieve this? And of course, what it's going to do is it's going to work its algorithmic magic and it's going to come up with a priority list for you. So rather than you second guessing, it's using the data and the evidence and the insights that it's worked with you to produce to actually then give you a plan for next month that's going to really make you super efficient, because you'll be doing the highest value things, not just what we've always done or not just what we did last month. You're going to be doing the things that are going to make the most difference. So this is where it starts to get really, really interesting. As we start to improve efficiency with AI, we're going to be able to begin to really make some refinements. We're going to be able to start to say no to stuff that isn't giving us the best results. So rather than just guessing or rather than just carrying on making the same mistakes, we can begin to use AI to fine tune what we're doing. And we can continuously teach and rebrief the AI that, okay, you recommended last week that this week I should be doing this, this, and this. Now, I've done all these 3 things, but those 2 things seem to work, but this one doesn't. What do you think? What could we do differently next week? So you're continually going into these conversations with it. Again, it becomes more than an assistant and more, I would say, probably a trusted advisor is kind of where we're going with this. And probably as we go towards AGI, that is where we're going. So you can be using it for ongoing, predictive, continuous improvement. So maybe those are 3 kind of concepts there that are probably the most important things about what we've talked about. Yes, I've shared with you some emerging tools that seem to be winning the race at the moment, but this is the really deeper, important stuff. Ongoing, predictive, continuous improvement. So just think about those 3, reflect on those 3 things. Wouldn't that be good if your interaction with AI was ongoing? So it's kind of always present. if it was predictive, so it's not just reflecting on what you've done, but it's actually helping you to align with your next steps or the next plan or the next campaign or that next great idea. And it's continuously improving. So it's, as my wife often says, it's about sharpening the saw. I think that was Stephen Covey, wasn't it? I think who first said that. Is about continuously just sharpening the saw. You're just getting better and better in little incremental steps all the time. And that's what it is so good at. Yes, you can have those mind-blowing moments when it produces that Notebook LM podcast and you think, wow, they're talking about my work. Listen to it. This sounds so real. Yes, of course, that's exciting and sexy and really good. But it's at this more deep level, this efficiency level, where the real gains are going to happen. This is where the trends are really kind of migrating to. So ongoing, predictive, continuous improvement, so important in terms of a mindset. And when you get to thinking about this, then this phrase process mapping can't be avoided because what you're actually doing is you're recognizing and you're actually welcoming in the processes that you use every day in the work that you do. So, what you're saying is, I do repetitive stuff, I do repetitive campaigns, I do content, I do meetings, I do reporting, I do serving of sales visits and helping, create materials that serve growth and business development in my role. And all of these things, and a lot of these things are a process or processes. Well, the beauty of AI now is that if you map those processes, you can streamline them as workflows and you can automate repetitive tasks like lead nurturing, like the reporting that I talked about before, like content personalization, because the AI can do it so much more efficiently and effectively than you can. And what does that do? It enables you then to focus on the bigger stuff, the more important stuff, and those three agreed priorities that you haven't really had time to do in the past because you're still stuck with some of the old world. So, thinking about your AI as a process mapping tool that enables you to do this is really powerful. And there are tools available to you. One that's coming through loud and clear from China at the moment is called Manus, manus.com. Haven't got it in here yet because it hasn't officially, for me, it hasn't actually translated into one that I can recommend, but it is a fascinating one where you can join up various processes by using the prompt engineering acronym that we talked about before, and you can get it to do some stuff for you. It can log in as you to do certain things, and it's just through prompt. And if you know your processes, you can join those things together. So having done one thing, it can then lead on to the next and the next. So it does become your virtual PA. How interesting is that if you know your processes? So it's about reflecting and taking time to mindfully think, what am I doing? Where I don't really add that much value, but I'm continually doing stuff. Whereas actually, if I didn't have to do the stuff and could get the AI to do it in a fraction of a second, whereas it takes me a long time to do it, what would that enable me then free up my time to do? I could be doing the valuable stuff. Wow, my value just went up. And it can also be things like onboarding other agents as well within these processes to do the specialist stuff that we've talked about before. So this is about planning this stuff really carefully. It's not just about, oh, AI produces my content. Hey, I'm a marketer. This is about actually truly thinking about what is it I'm doing day in, day out? Can I make some recommendations into my line manager, into my business that say, look, if we were to automate this, if we were to create a process around this that we could get an AI to do, wouldn't it be great? Because, and here's the value then that you can get. Interesting, isn't it? And when you start to include maybe things like chatbots as well internally for helping to onboard and train new staff, or maybe you want to understand what is it that finance really does, or what are the pain points my salespeople are actually encountering right now? Well, if they've got a chatbot and you've got a marketing chatbot, maybe you start to talk with all these internal chatbots. That would be a really interesting way of actually understanding, because of course they know everything about the business because they've been briefed as such. Far easier to talk to a chatbot and admit that actually I don't really understand half the language that finance use, or oh my goodness, that salesperson they need to translate what they're talking about because I'm a marketer, I don't really understand it, and vice versa. Do you find that marketing often gets misinterpreted? Well, maybe you create a marketing chatbot. You can use a MyGPT and ChatGPT and create a little chatbot that can enable people to understand actually what we do in marketing, not just generically, but actually what we do in our particular role in your organization, and it can learn. And so it can talk about all those little nuances so people can actually understand the value that we bring. Here's something interesting. Everybody's using chatbots at the moment on the front page of their website to talk to customers, but there's different ways you can be creative here. So think about the processes that you have. Think about some of your pain points on a day-to-day basis, because one of the emerging trends that we are seeing right here, right now, is that process mapping is opening up new ways of thinking about and using AI. And to me, this is where the big value comes. Yes, there's value in creative. We've got all those tools I've talked about, but this is where game changing is happening. It really, really is. And of course, one of the other game changing things is that search is changing. We are definitely seeing this year. I predicted this a couple of years back that voice and visual search optimization was coming. And then suddenly in came AI and put the afterburners on. Search behaviors are changing. And what this is going to mean for marketing in the future is profound. If you're still working from text based keyword phrases to optimize your content, I'm not saying don't, because a lot of people are still searching through text-based search, but more and more on a day-to-day basis of us are searching through Alexa, Siri, AI voice search. We're using that because it's now in the palm of our hand. Did you realize that most of the AI tools that we've talked about here, if you're using them on the app version on your mobile phone, you can be actually talking those prompts. You can be in a conversation. And so, of course, this is now going to be enabling voice and visual search. Images are being searched by the AIs. Videos are being searched by the AIs. And so if you're talking a consistent story, literally talking a consistent story in your content, then you're going to be fine. You'll be able to be found. You're going to be included in those outputs that the AIs give to other people, i.e. your customer. Interesting times that we're living in. So search is changing. That is one that we go deep into in our monthly course here at the college, the AI and Metaverse Marketing Day course that I would encourage you to sign up to if you haven't already been on it. And if you have been on it some time ago, we've got a whole bunch of different stuff in there now, as you can imagine, because we update it every single month. So if you're not aware of this stuff and you think, oh, I need to upskill on this, head to marketingcollege.com/events and you'll see the upcoming days to get in there and learn about this stuff in some detail. And of course, what we're trying to do here is do good. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, that we're trying to do good marketing and good business and be, honest and authentic and true. And so we're trying to reduce AI bias in everything that we do. But of course, the more that we do this in a good way, the more that this is feeding into the bigger machine. Because most of what we do, unless you're ring fenced and you're using a corporate version, maybe of Copilot or the corporate version of ChatGPT, then you're actually helping the AI to learn more and to train itself in a direction that's going to suit you, but obviously it's going to suit others too. So what you're needing to do here to reduce the bias that is inherent in all AI, is inherent in all humans, is to actually fact check one AI with another. I said that Perplexity is a great tool to use for that, but whichever other tools that you've got and that you're using, get them to critique each other, not in a competitive way, but just in a safety way. So that will help to reduce AI bias in there. You can ask another human to proofread the content that you're creating or the plan that you've got. Let's not forget the humans in this AI mix. It hasn't precluded you from being there as a human, of course. I've said this all along. It's not replacing you, but it is there as a trusted guide, advisor, assistant, however you want to position it. But remember, you've still got human colleagues as well as all these AI assistants. So maybe getting another human to proofread from their perspective, particularly if they're outside of the discipline that you're in. If you're in sales, get a marketer. If you're in marketing, get a finance person, etc., etc., just to see if it makes sense. That's key. And create and share AI and brand guidelines. This is a key way to move this forward safely. If you've got brand guidelines, most of us have, either they're written down or they're not kind of logged, but they're an unspoken set of rules that we operate by. Make sure you create and share some AI guidelines too. And of course, you can get your AI tool to help you to do that. This is again not rocket science, but if you take some of this current best practice as it is, as we're all starting to hopefully create this evolving playbook of betterment, if you like, in the AI field, then the more you can be creating guidelines around best practice here, the better this is going to look for you and all your colleagues as well. So that would be another little checklist of a thing to do. So here we go. What are the next things that you can do? Well, I've said about coming along to the day course that we run here at the college. Marketingcollege.com/events will get you all the details that you need for that one. But do make sure that your AI aligns with professional ethics and regulatory expectations. You can push this stuff a long way, but don't push outside the boundaries of being ethical and still operating within any kind of frameworks that you have in the industry that you work in. Everything that legally applies in the real world applies here too. We've known that in marketing. We've had GDPR and other kind of guidelines and regulations for years and years and years. The same stuff applies with AI. If you feel doubt in what you're doing with AI, there's probably a reason for that. So go with your intuition. You probably shouldn't be doing it. So kind of, check up and keep abreast of the data and the regulations. You do need to keep up to date with that. So keep refreshing your knowledge. Literally, this thing is moving by the hour, let alone the day. And places you can go to keep up with this, a couple of the tools that I use is imaginative.com. That's like the word imaginative, but without the I at the front. So imaginative.com. And there's also a really great podcast called the AI Daily Brief, which I really highly recommend, which is a 5 to 10 minute podcast on a daily basis. It just keeps you up to date with all the big stuff that's moving. He's very unbiased. It's very, very balanced, and it's kind of designed for people like you and I, who are kind of trying to, fathom out what's the next best step that we can take. Start chatting with your AI. Remember, this is a conversation that we're having with the AIs. This isn't a monologue. You're not giving them instruction. This is about getting into I'll use the word, a relationship with your AI tools. And remember, each one is going to do something slightly different. So beginning with, using their specialisms is a really good way of starting. And begin small, scale what works, trim back what doesn't, and continuously improve. And you can do that by process mapping. So one of the things that I would say is a big takeaway here is about this whole thing of process mapping, because what you will be doing there, even if you don't feel necessarily quite ready yet for your AI agents, that is how to prepare for AI agents, which are inevitably coming. If you don't feel that it's quite here for today and you just want to get your head around all the other bits first, that's fine. Totally understand that. But know they're coming. Know that your competitors or maybe even colleagues will be using AI agents more than assistants, if you like. Assistants are kind of being guided by you. AI agents are going to be thinking for themselves to support you very, very soon. So those are the things that I would recommend you begin and start your journey of really understanding these emerging AI trends. Try and keep up to date as far as you can. I know there's a lot of stuff here that I've kind of downloaded and dumped on you there, but hopefully some of those things have been interesting, and you see these as well in your travels. But be selective. You can't do all of this, and this becomes a full-time job if you want to embrace all of this. But remember that by being on the journey of continuous improvement, a little improvement every single day, using the AI to support you and prioritize the things that you're going to be focusing on, will enable you to be one of the players who are actually writing this playbook. Despite what some people think, there is no playbook. We here, you and I, are actually creating this thing as we go, because the more we use this, the more we're briefing the AI, the more it's learning, the more it's then supporting us. So it is very much you get what you give with AI. So thank you for listening. Hopefully you found that really useful. And good luck with your next steps in embracing, hopefully, these emerging AI trends this year.